Welcome back to Cheche. Our focus this morning is on the governing coalition, Jubilee, and the merger that is underway to create a new party. And before the break, you were telling us why it's critical to have this new Jubilee party on the political electoral landscape. The argument you were making, a harmonized manifesto, harmonized structures, and you anticipate that there will be no fallout from nominations, as both Mutegi and David were putting to you. But Mutegi, you don't buy that.
No.
Why not?
Because these leaders normally would like to work with people who they are people. That's why, as I said before, if you're a friend of Uhuru and you're nominated because you are his friend, you'll be elected. Like you said, if you're from Central, and but he was trying to argue that there are others. But essentially, those leaders influence who is nominated. That was my argument. I think the structures don't matter.
I think your argument could have held forth in a historical perspective, but not in the last general election and the present dispensation that we intend to unfold. If you look at, for instance, the National Alliance, quite a number of
which are the Secretary General,
Secretary. Quite a number of the President's close friends and colleagues lost the nominations. I'm looking at the former, for instance, the former Minister of Finance, Bwana, was called Bwana Kimunya lost. And they were defeated by people whose names probably you had not heard before. That is to tell you that, for instance, the leadership had no interest in the outcome of the nomination but left it to the people. Now, beside that, let me bring to your attention, Bwana Mutegi and the panel, that the Kenyans of the present generation are totally different from that current of Kenyans who would be told, go and greet so and so. And that was a perfect endorsement. To date, you dare do that, and your party suffers minority. We have people who lost in where I come from. I come from Nyanza, and one party used to be very dominant. Sheer greeting would guarantee your ticket to parliament. Presently, we have not less than 3 or 4 MPs, including a governor, from different small parties that came through other parties having lost unfairly in the nomination. Or maybe Kenyans just thought, no, he has won in the nomination, because sometimes you can win as a result of clan matrix. Maybe the other big clans have produced more candidates, you have consolidated your only clan, and you have won the nominations, but going to the general elections, people feel, no, this is not the person we want. And they get the person they wanted. Now, even in where we come from, we lost 1 or 2 seats. That is to tell you that Kenyans are coming out of that cocoon of leadership pointing at the people they want. As a Jubilee party, we are trying to build onto that feeling of Kenyans by putting in place structures that will enable them express themselves fairly. In a sense, you will not come that I'm friend to President Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm friend to Deputy President William Ruto. For your information, the 2 gentlemen hold no position in for instance, my party at all. So they could not even influence if they wanted, and it would open an up and down a box, please.
I mean, David, you're also not buying this.
Yeah, you see, for 2 reasons. I mean, first, they're trying to sell the country this whole notion that merger will unite Kenyans. Well, how many Kenyans? Let's start there. I mean, the principal parties in Jubilee are URP and TNA, and to some extent New Food Kenya, and previously a Money Coalition, which is no longer holding. What you're trying to merge are pockets of support of those particular parties, wherever they are. Take or leave it, principally URP and TNA territories, which are Rift Valley, Central Kenya, and that's it. And you top up, people, 40 people in Kisii territory, and then a bit of New Food Kenya in Bungoma, Trans Nzoia. To what extent does that achieve, unity of Kenyans? let's take it there. If you have left out the others, anyway, if unity is the purpose, then you're uniting people in a certain way.
Before you do that, I'd like to buttress David's view with some of our viewers' views, because actually you've tapped into what a lot of our viewers are saying. Cheche, the Jubilee merger is a recipe for single partyhood. Kenyans should remember how difficult it was to amend Section 2A of the old constitution, and that comes from Sam and Nyeri, and that was your point, Mutegi. You're creating a monolith. Mr. Lowe and team need to know that Kenya is bigger than Jubilee or any other political outfit. Let's make laws for posterity, not to serve selfish, egocentric interests. Clifton, Viega. Kenyan parties are what they are because of the people in them. What Jubilee needs is to give the coalition a Kenyan face by recruiting more small parties and individuals across the country. You do not become a different person by changing your dress. The name JAP or JPK will change nothing. Richard in Nairobi. And there was one who said that JAP is not uniting Kenyans, it's uniting two communities and buying small parties.
Can I first give a take?
This is some of the issues from JAP as the Secretary General.
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is my perspective. Number one, Jubilee Party also envisages certain parties which are coast-based. That is Republican Congress. That's RC. So I think some of the comments...
by Najib Balala,
yes.
He gave it away.
I think...
He gave it away?
Yes.
Yes. I think some of the comments may be based on not fully comprehending or understanding the number of parties that have been drawn across the table for the merger process. We said we have 9 political parties. And the merger process, by the way, is open to any political party that would feel that their ideology is aligned to what Jubilee stands for. But once again, we cannot force people to join the merger. And one more thing, the fact that we are merging the party does not mean that the constitution is being changed to allow for a one-party state. We are not going back to those days, and Kenya has walked on. So we still have a multi-party democracy. But if you look at the bigger democracies, like the United States of America, you look at the European democracies, the ones that we can call as solid democracies, how many parties do you find that actually coalesce
I have a problem with? Those parties evolved. They evolved. And a party, we can have 2 parties evolving in this country without collapsing others. People just join those 2 parties. Those parties will grow and obtain national strength and continue. I mean, shutting out the small ones or actually buying them or merging, whichever the word might be.
Let us finish a point and then...
David, do you mean that as Kenyans we are not positive enough to learn from our past mistakes and to see that the danger came in, like I had started to explain, when a big tribal grouping formed a political party, and that made the smaller groupings feel like, I have been left out. So the easiest thing is to have my own political party. Now, an opportunity has been presented in this nation for political parties to come, the big political parties to come around with the smaller political parties and say, we want to give you an opportunity to come and negotiate with us at par. Look at the number of parties that are being combined, 9 of them. Some are big, some are small. But we have not looked at those parties and we have not negotiated with them as though they were little political parties or insignificant. Each party has been treated equally. They have had their chairman and their SG sitting across the table with us. But what we cannot do, for instance, there are people who have misunderstood this process. For instance, they think Jubilee is buying off people. Jubilee is not buying off political parties, by the way. We have had a clear merger process where people have been negotiating, bringing their views on the table, participating in making the rules that you make the nomination process totally entrenched.
I wanted to answer you before you answer your question. Mr. Makali, I refuse to believe or to accept that because it happened in Europe or in America, that must be the same mode that we must follow. It could have evolved in America or in Europe. It doesn't mean that was a standard formula that must cut across the globe. Elsewhere, it could just start. Elsewhere, it could be a merger. Elsewhere, it could go through a coalition. And these are Kenyans writing their history the only way they know it best.
Let me ask you, Onyango, if the intention is to get as many parts of the country into one basket called Jubilee Party, for example, how much does the Republican Party command in Mombasa?
Let me...
I mean, if really it is netting,
I think let us get it this way first. That Article 38 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya allows each person and every Kenyan a right to join a political party or an association of his kind. Secondly, Kenya is defined in that constitution as a multi-party democracy. That is an aspect of this country, a character that can only be changed by way of a referendum, not even a constitutional amendment. So can we put aside the issue that we are trying to make Kenya a monolithic country, because we can't, even if we wanted, which we do not intend to do. Secondly, ours is what you would call in broad parlance a coalition of the willing. We want to bring those of us who are desirous to coalesce against certain issues, as many Kenyans as we can. And even the unity of a whole country will not start with the whole country. It could start with the two of us here if we want to unite. We say we have struggled enough, why don't we get together? Then if we know Makali is going to give us problem, we get Muteti second, then we can go to Banamutegi. By the time we reach him, then we are a whole team.
Okay, so look, the merger is going ahead. We're waiting for this piece of legislation to come out of the Senate. But will it be successful? And the question is predicated on the fact that you tried this last year and it didn't work.
Maybe to clarify that we never tried last year and it failed. As Olo said earlier, what happened is that we have a steering committee that is working on this merger. The steering committee... So you did not give yourself deadlines last year? We gave us a deadline, but he said earlier that after combing into the law, we found that there were some issues which needed to be fixed. Now, we're in that process of fixing that issue of law. But most important, during this time of fixing, we're also going to the grassroots and talking to people. We have been mobilizing our grassroots supporters and telling them that we are preparing to unite Kenya, and we have been getting a lot of support, especially in...
So not from our viewers at the moment?
Not from our viewers at the moment, and we don't know them because we are also viewing. But what we are saying is that we've been getting a lot of support, because every day our work is to sit in the office and go around the country and talk to our grassroots supporters. But we've been getting a lot of support from the coast, we've been getting a lot of support from the eastern region, and this idea has been bought by very many people. Every time I give you an example, you're not buying it. In 2007 elections, we saw that the Jubilee side, that time, which was President Kibaki, won the presidency. But the small parties were so disgraded because there were so many, they were so tribal, he could not even have numbers in parliament. He had to go looking for ODM Kenya. Now, to avoid that is to ensure that we put all our parties together, unite all our supporters in one basket, so that now people can also be supporting Jubilee because they believe in an ideology of Jubilee. For example, if we had the CORD and Jubilee only, people would be saying, I'm joining Jubilee because Jubilee is a family party, Jubilee is a devolution party, Jubilee believes in development, Jubilee believes in this. And then another person would join the other side and say, the other side, okay, they love this kind of lifestyle, their ideology is this. So would like to form political parties so that people can join a political party because he believes in the ideology and because he believes they have the numbers to form government. Why would you join, for example, a small party if you want to join government? A small party, you know that it cannot form government. It is better we bring together all the parties to form government and to be in government. And also,
we are doing an inclusive
parties.
Yes, over 55.
60 presently.
Okay, 60 present.
Yes.
More are being formed.
Yes.
Now, you are 9. So when you say you are uniting the country, means...
Let me... Mr. Mutegi, just to buttress what he's saying before I come to your position. When Kibaki got his second term, the country literally burnt. And CORD had a very plausible reason to say that they had lost elections. That time it was ODM. Their ground was, how could Kibaki have won these elections with 44 members of parliament when ODM had 90 members of parliament? Presently, as we are talking, one of the grounds that ODM touts around is that it is the largest party with the highest number of members of parliament, and therefore it could not have lost the elections. Forgetting one thing, the cumulative net effect or numbers of these parties that had supported Mr. Kibaki but were in small parties, or if you add the number of Wiper in the current, of URP in the current parliamentary strength, URP, TNA, and the small parties that back us, then you find that we are so far ahead of CORD as a team. Now, other than unifying Kenyans, we have also come to the realization that one of the only ways to make Kenyans realize that we don't get into this circle of violence, let the victory be clean and clear-cut. So let us bring these people who want to support us in small parties around common ideology. Let us bring our party so that we get the numbers, so that when we now serve our victory, nobody reminds us that he has more numbers than us. Yet, in totality, we have gotten it beyond them.
David, we are bringing predictability in politics, which has been lacking for the last 3 general elections. We are bringing predictability. We want people to know for a fact that you can believe in a political ideology and you can build around it. Instead of building every 5 years, and after the span of 5 years is gone, you start another political party. How will Kenyans ever understand how these governments are being formed now, and how they are running?
You see, that is also good, and I would subscribe to that view. And in fact, it's good to have ideology that drives politics. Unfortunately, we have not had it. I don't foresee that happening soon. In fact, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I can assure you that you'll form JP after the next election, 2017. That party will not exist in 2022. I can almost tell from history
and
politics. Well, I wish the movers well. I'm not saying this to undermine the initiative, but I just think that in terms of strategy, this is not going to hold together. Because even if you were to get the numbers of the parties you want in JAP or JP merging, after the election, you still perhaps need to build another coalition. What will become of the possibilities if you don't get the numbers? Of course, your target is to get the numbers and have a clean victory.
Yes.
Chances you may not get that clean victory. You may need to get other members to top up. You still get back into the same mode of parties that are mergers. But more importantly, I wanted to address Muteti's analysis of what has happened so far. And to the best of my knowledge, there has been even resistance to the merger in the manner that it's being driven. The members they've listed among the 9 parties that think that maybe this is not the best thing to do, and their NECs or party organs have not concluded the process of the mergers. Isn't that true? And that actually was a problem as of December.
In fact, to add to that, there are reports in the press that TNA, members of TNA, are the ones resisting this merger.
Can I tell you, as their Secretary General, none has so far registered his complaint. I have had one case presented before the Elections Tribunal by a member of Parliament, and his request was that the nomination must be done properly in accordance with the law. And we gave an undertaking before the tribunal that we shall undertake the merger process in a constitutional manner and in line with the party constitution. Perhaps just to bring you to bring you up to speed, the National Alliance, for which I am the Secretary General, is committed to following the letters in that constitution to the letter. And then not members of Parliament, but national delegates will have to come and ratify that merger. We are consulting with them. So much of it, and I'm glad you have said, you've read in the media, none of them has come out to say, I oppose this. Originally, of course, new ideas are resisted. Originally, and I understand where Mr. McCall is coming from when he's pessimistic. We have come from a long way as a country, but there's always every ground to say that we can start as a people.
Isn't part of your challenge that you're sitting here as Secretaries General, but you're not politicians? And so you might be out of touch with the ambitions of the politicians whom you're trying to corral into this new outfit?
Who says we are not politicians?
We are politicians.
Are you elected politician?
Who is a politician?
In your definition.
In your definition, who is a politician?
Are you elected politician?
No. Now you have added
We are elected.
Are you the ones who are resisting?
We are elected.
I want to bring you to the National Alliance. My constitution was very clear. If you are going to hold a position in that party, you are not going to be elected. One of the purpose for that was to ensure that you are able to serve those who want those elective positions without bias or feeling these are colleagues who sit in parliament. But beside that, who would give you a political seat like a Secretary General if you are not a politician? You would not come from the pulpit.
In your own ways as Secretary Generals, who elected you?
No, let's start from here.
Yes.
When you say we are politicians,
I want to answer you.
I want to give you an example. When you say we are politicians,
let me.
This is the main
He
partner.
has asked who elected us. Probably because you may not have been brought to speed to understand the history of the National Alliance, for instance. The National Alliance was originally the party known as NAP Kenya. When NAP Kenya was changing its name into TNA, a National Delegates Convention was called, in which Mr. Sakaja was elected. The constitution was first amended. The position of party leader and deputy party leader was removed. The national chairman was elected as Johnson Sakaja. I was elected as Secretary General. Charles Waithaka, Deputy Secretary General. But because that time the party was not of a high profile, you did not find it newsworthy to cover it. But a National Delegates Convention was called and we were elected.
The National Delegates Convention came from as a result of what? Who are the members?
The members of the then party, NAP Kenya.
The members of the party.
Yes. They paid how much money to be members?
Pardon?
How much was the membership?
10 shillings to be members. Even now, if you give me 10 shillings to be a member of the National Alliance.
Can I comment on that issue that about politician? Yes, we are politicians. First of all, if you have forgotten that David was also a politician at some time. Also, he contested in Kisumu. Of course, he lost. That also makes him a politician. And then he's also elected as the Secretary General of TNA. Myself, last election, I also contested to be a member of Parliament in Makueni constituency. Of course, I lost, but I'm also preparing for future. But what I'm saying is that I was also elected. URP is a new party. We formed in 2012. We went to Kasaran, to Bomas. We had our NDC there. We elected officials, and I was elected. So we are politicians in our own right by the fact that we were elected to lead these political parties. So let nobody tell you that.
But talk about the reluctance of some of the parties to...
Okay, we'll have to come to that after the break. We have to take a break now. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV discussing the merger of the Jubilee coalition affiliate parties. What do you think? Will it be a success? SMS us on 22422 or tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.